The Chicago White Sox may be looking for a new home very soon. The Chicago Bulls killed the dinosaur in Toronto. The Chicago Bears are continuing to interview coordinators, and we'll have our divisional preview with our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika. That and much more at Second City Sports. Hashtag Football Fridays edition starts right now. Welcome to another fun-filled hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in 11 color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Mr. King McGee, which is she. I am Sidney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my King McGee on the Twitter, X, I can't again, IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite sports opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza, we call it a Sports Talk Radio Show. You can always find us at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you try to troll, it'll do something silly, dumb, or stupid. I've given Lakina full powers to give you fools a bill and be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live in living color right now on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on that sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Android, your Chromebook, or your PC, just head up to Google Play Store, download that Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
And yes, we will provide you with this somewhat not too cold Friday, as says in the teaser. Of course, we're going to preview the divisional round. Some great games coming up with our girl Christine Manika from KXRB. Also, too, some new names, maybe even emerging front runner for the Bears' new OC position. And look, the Bulls getting a nice win up in Toronto, and the rest of the NBA. And Coleman Hawkins, bringing up big from for Illinois, and the rest of college hoops. But first, this news came out a couple of days ago, and I guess you could say that this is probably something that I'm a little bit skeptical about this. But the White Sox, Forbes magazine, also reporting that that the White Sox could move to the South Loop in the set on the 78th, which is, for those who don't know where that is, it's a little bit like right up north and around the areas and some of the other matchups and whatnot. Now, I kind of been skeptical about this because I've been hearing about this for like the last 6 or 7 years, that they could probably perhaps, because there is land in that area. Mm-hmm. But I feel like this is just a way to kind of I don't know if they're going to move to Nashville, as some outlets have said, but at the same time, I'm a little skeptical about this here. Now they still got about 5 years left on the over at G rate. So, but I guess Jerry Reinsdorf wants to kind of feel out other possibilities as much as he can, I guess.
Yeah, as you said, this is exploring Jerry Reinsdorf and his ownership group exploring their options, and rightfully so. As I said before, and I'll say it again, do not believe that Nashville crap. I know the playbook. We talked about it when that Nashville stuff came out a few months ago, Lakina, about him threatening the White Sox to move to another city in another state. Remember, he did that same thing in 1989, folks. Mm-hmm. And of course, the former Governor Thompson passed that bill at the midnight hour for the White Sox to get their at that time the new stadium, which they're playing in right now. Let's be real here, Lakina. Like you said, he's exploring all his options. Number one, Reinsdorf does not, I repeat, does not have to pay a dime on that stadium unless 2 million or more fans draw into Sox Park. And he had to do that the last time a couple of years ago. Outside of that, he doesn't have to pay a dime if the attendance is lower than 2 million per year. Number two, the White Sox have made renovations to that ballpark over the last several years. It's actually been great. The ballpark is not deteriorating like Wrigley Field was about a decade ago before the Ricketts family took over. So I know I might sound biased when I say this, but I love going to that ballpark. Selfishly, from where I live, I just hop on the train and take it to the game, which I still do now. And so it's at a centralized locations for a lot of fans, especially in the South Loop downtown area, in the South Side, in the South suburbs like I am. You can take the train, whether it's the Metro or the CTA, to get to the game, which is fine. And also, you can tailgate there as well. The only thing about this new, quote-unquote, alleged new stadium, Lakina, couple of things. One, will the Reinsdorf ownership group or the sponsors, will they have to pay the majority of this? Or will the taxpayers, i.e. the citizens of the Chicago, still have to pay for it? Because remember, they still going to have to pay the bill on the Soldier Field when the Bears leave, whenever they get their new stadium together, whether it's Arlington Heights or somewhere else. Number two, fans like yours truly like to tailgate at US Cellular Field. That's one of the best things about attending Sox games. It's traffic, especially around downtown, is a mess to begin with on a normal day. How many parking lots are you going to have there, if you're going to have any at all? Or is it just going to be the South Loop version of Wrigley Field? Because, you cannot park on the north side, and especially get to Wrigley. So those are the only two issues I have for the new stadium, of the proposed new stadium. I saw some of the pictures that was sent to me over the last couple of days that were taken down, but it looks nice. The outfield is going to show the city skyline, just like you see in Pittsburgh and Detroit and other places. And now the White Sox follow the model of the PNC ballpark in Pittsburgh, or like the one in Detroit, Comerica Park, which I had the privilege of going some years ago, which is next to Ford Field in downtown Detroit. If the Sox can copy those models, that location is just perfect.
The thing is that I've heard people say that you're kind of like you're not like, you're kind of, well, Dan Ryan's like, I guess, a little bit further, it's like to the west. So you may not trying to get out of there, after a game. That might be a bit of a kind of a like an obstacle course, I guess, for some folks if you can catch the car. The train and the buses are not too far. You're right there in that South Roosevelt Road area, so it is a little bit easier to get to, through that avenue and the CTA and that transportation. But the positioning of it, that might be a little bit much. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it's like I said, I've been hearing about this. I'm with our buddy Sean Davis, who's also a big White Sox fan. I've been hearing about this for the last 5 or 6 years or 7 years. This particular area. There's a big area in that, that they could put the new Sox Park there in that area, but it kind of, the positioning of it's a little bit wonky. So I'm a little bit skeptical of this, but again, it's all kind of like, I guess Reinsdorf wants to kind of fill up all his avenues and explore all his options. But I kind of feel like this part here is a little bit, like you said. I mean, I know Detroit, they have, like I said, it's very similar to their stadium for the Tigers. But it just feels like it's going to be a little bit congested. But again, I guess what happens if you want to try to build a new stadium, whatever it is, inside the main area of your city.
You're listening to Second City Sports on the hashtag Football Friday edition right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina hanging out here with you, talking about the Chicago White Sox and their potential new home in the South Loop when their lease is up at Sox Park on 35th and Shields in 2029. Lakina, here's another thing about that potential location. I know you have the railroad tracks there, but you have to build around it. It has some other infrastructures as well if this plan should go through. But let's just say, hypothetically, if this happens, we talked about the transportation, talking about driving down there. I know some folks that come from Rockford and from the western and parts of the northern suburbs is on a normal days is hectic getting down there, and I feel them for them. I know conveniently for me, like I say, I just take the train, the metro train, and I can get down there with no problem. But like you said, you think it's a problem getting to 35th from those two locations I just mentioned. Imagine driving downtown to get to it. Like I said, it's something they're going to have to figure out. But public transportation is perfect. It's perfect. You have 3 CTA lines to get you there to the game downtown. You have 2 metro lines, the Union Station line and the Rock Island line, which I take to get to downtown. Of course, there's a stop on that Rock Island line at 35th. So let's just say they have that new stadium right there. You can see the stadium right at the LaSalle Street station, which is the last stop downtown. So public transportation is just perfect. You cannot complain about that. Also, too, Lakina, you're going to attract tourism dollars. That's going to be big and booming. It's already big and booming already, but it's going to boom even more. You can put more restaurants around that ballpark, inside that ballpark, around that downtown area. And I don't know, they're going to build like a hotel like the Ricketts family did near Wrigley Field, but you don't have to drive that far or walk that far to that potential new ballpark. Business is going to be booming with restaurants and bars and things of that nature. I think business-wise, from the tourism to at least the public transportation, this is just perfect. It's just screaming capitalism all the way.
Oh no, look, I'm always pro capitalism. I mean, look, I am a capitalist at heart. So yeah, I mean, look, whatever helps the city. Yeah, exactly. So I think whatever helps the city and the booming, especially that area is booming anyway in the South Loop. They've built all types of hotels and other restaurants and such. So that part of the loop is if you get the White Sox there, I think that can only help it even more. I'm sure there are a lot of White Sox fans in that area. But I think also too at the same time, I think of the like you said, the convenience of it. Yeah, it's great, but like I said, if you're taking the car, and then the expressways and stuff like that, that's gonna probably be a problem for some of those folks. But yeah, I mean, they're probably a lot more pros and cons for this. But at the same time, though, I'm thinking, is this just a way of kind of like trying to, I guess, I wouldn't be surprised if they stay over at G-Rate, or maybe I don't think they're going to go to Nashville either. But I'm just thinking that maybe he wants to say, I guess Ryan wants to try to explore all options. Because I know a lot of people don't want to go to Bridgeport, especially after a certain time in some areas. But I think this will definitely it'll help in that department. But it'll be interesting to see if again, should this happen. I mean, look, we got a lot has to go through. I mean, you got to figure out how it's going to get paid and everything else, and who's going to lease it and whatnot, who's going to own this particular, will it be the Ryan stores? Will it be the city? So yeah, that's a lot of the red tape is going to have to figure out. That's probably why, like I said, I mean, I've been hearing about this particular area for years. That's why there's a reason why nothing has been greenlit for that just yet.
Yeah, and also another point before we break for the bottom of the hour, a couple of things. Will Ryan Store be and his group will they own the White Sox in the next 5 or 6 years? That's another element in this too. And number 2, Lakina, if you're a citizen of Chicago, would you want to pay for it? Or do you want the Ryan Store Group and whoever's the corporate sponsors they link up with, because they're going to have their name on the same? Would you want them to pay for it? I would want them to pay for it, not the citizens of Chicago.
Yeah, that like I said, that's going to be the thing that's really going to, like I said, that's going to be like the number one question. That's $1 million question, both literally and figuratively. Are people, are you going to get folks to, to pay for it? I mean, I doubt the city is going to want to pay for it. I doubt the people in the city is going to want to pay for it. No, I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, that's a whole lot. So they're going to have to figure out. So should this come to fruition, which, I mean, I give it a shot, but I don't think that's going to, I think them saying that Jerry is probably going to be the leader in the clubhouse for me. But again, we'll see. All right, and we'll take a really quick break, and then, of course, we'll talk some NBA and the Bulls. Bulls get a nice bounce-back win in Toronto, and the rest of the NBA, and maybe we'll speak a little bit of college hoops, too, if we got time. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. We'll go to the hardwood coming up right after this.
No, I don't know.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the hashtag Football Friday edition. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kingdom McGee on the Twitter, X, again, IG.
We have less than 90 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions, comments, or hot opinions in the world of sports, you can always find us at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
Yes, we will. And okay, so we're going to do a little round ball here. Let's talk some NBA, of course. The Bulls last night, got a nice win, 116-110 over the Raptors up north.
Oh, but no kid go on the floor. Everybody kill the dinosaur. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, brother, yeah, pay royalties for that one. So that was more than 5 seconds. That was just to do the 5 second mark. But
edit this out.
Yeah. DeMar DeRozan had 21 points. Kobe White with 23. Vooch had 24 and 14 boards. Zach LaVine hurt his ankle early on in the second half, so he, we'll see if that's going to be a lingering thing. We'll see about that. P. Will in his first came back after just a couple games, 12 points, including 2 from 3 from the 3. So a very good showing for the Bulls. They go to 20-23. after losing 3 of the last 4 prior. So really, I know it's been a very emotional week for Raptors head coach Darko Rajakovic. So we'll get to that in a second. But this, the Bulls, a really nice win. I mean, look, was it the prettiest? No, but look, the NBA is not about style points as long as you win.
Well, if you're talking about style points, both teams played sloppy basketball, turning it over a bunch of times in the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game. But the Bulls turned it up and turned it on for that first quarter into the second quarter. Lakina, did you know that the Bulls' 24 points in the paint were the most in any quarter by a Bulls team all season?
Yep, most all season. I saw that.
I couldn't believe when I read that stat watching it. I'm like, okay, but
Yeah.
the second quarter, as usual, the Toronto Raptors responded with a run in that second half. The Bulls got back to what they did best in the first half, was driving the ball into the paint. But did you check out the audio version for Billy Donovan? They had mic'd up for sound last night, and he gave a passionate speech during one of the huddles right before halftime. Get physical, get tough, because how Toronto got back in the game, Scotty Barnes and crew and Brian Boucher, they were driving and dunking like it was in one basketball game. Let's be honest here, Lakina. And what have we been talking about? One of the Achilles heels of this Bulls team over the last 2 or 3 years, interior defense, just letting guys go up the middle without challenging the shot. It was embarrassing, especially in that second quarter. But the Bulls turned it around in that second half. Like you said, despite Zach LaVine re-entering that ankle stepping on another player's foot from the Raptors. But Kobe White kicked it into high gear. DeMar DeRozan was D-Roll, as he always is. Nikolai Vucevic, Lakina, as we've been playing these last couple of years, when he has to match up in the post, give him the damn basketball. He was doing some operation last night in the paint.
Yeah, probably best he's looked at since he's come back from injury. So yeah, definitely we're finally seeing the old Vooch, which is great to see if you're a Bulls fan. And like I said, a really good show and a good all around team win for the Bulls. So like I said, not the prettiest at the end of the first half, but they definitely turned it on in the second half, and they were able to kind of ward off the. I guess the TNT Bulls are back. I guess I know Barkley wasn't very happy with having the Bulls game on, but whatever. But
here's the thing.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, here's a couple of the notes from the Bulls game last night. As I always say, between 25 and 35 team assists, the Bulls usually win the majority of the time. They had 30 assists as a team last night. The ball was moving excellent last night, so you couldn't complain right there. And also, too, in the rebounding department, they had 42 for the game. Outside that second quarter, they were banging the boards. Toronto, they were missing their shots, especially in that second half. The Bulls rebound the Raptors by 4 for the entire game, but they're aggressively rebounding the basketball, even though Andre Drummond didn't play last night. But the Bulls' offensive sequences with them passing the ball and their shot selection is particularly getting into the paint. It was excellent last night.
Yeah, really good. We'll see if they can keep it up tomorrow as they host Memphis at the UC. Now we can go to last night's games. Indiana with a nice win against Sacramento, 126-121. I saw a little bit of this game. Benedict Mathurin had 25. Nice balanced scoring there for the Pacers, holding off the Kings. It was kind of back and forth for a little bit, but despite Kevin Huerter's 31, which is a career high, it just wasn't enough for the Kings.
Yeah, the Pacers are waiting for Pascal Siakam to make his debut with the team. Maybe it'll come tonight as they take on Portland. We'll see about that. But like you said, Lakina, with the horses they had available last night, they outblasted the Kings. I know the Kings tried to make a game of it late, but Tyrese Halliburton, who's an All-Star this year. I know the All-Star games in Indianapolis will take place next month, but he's been having a nice season. You still have Miles Turner there. You got Buddy Hield shooting the ball from the outside. And so the Pacers have a nice roster. Now with Siakam, they're going to score some more points. The only thing I'm worried about, Lakina, is can they play some sort of defense? And Rick Carlisle is known for defense.
Right. So that's going to be the thing, especially if they are able to kind of be in that top 6. Yeah, that's going to be the thing here. Minnesota, no trouble with Memphis, 118-103. Mr. Anthony Edwards had 28 points. for the T-Wolves. They're still hanging on to that number 1 seed in the West right now. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 31 points as the Thunder halted the Jazz's little roll that they were going on. 134, 129. The Knicks pulled held off the Wizards 113, 109, 41 points from Mr. Jalen Brunson. This was a season high for him. We'll get to some of these games in a second. Well, let's do the Wednesday's games first. Let's talk about that Brooklyn Blazers game. Apparently, I guess DeAndre Ayton couldn't get to the arena. Talk about I guess not playing during the icy conditions, because apparently he lives all the way like in the tip of the where the suburbs and in Portland. I guess he's on a hill, so I guess they couldn't get to him. He couldn't get there. Portland, I guess they didn't need it because Portland edged out the Nets 105-103. Jeremy Grant had 30 points, a season high. But that whole thing with Aiden was a little bit weird to say the least.
Yeah, they couldn't get an Uber or call a tow truck to act as an Uber.
Helicopter or something.
Right.
Like, good Lord, like it could. That was I don't know. That whole thing was very odd. That whole thing was very odd. Like they couldn't get. Wait, was it that? I know boys were kind of freaking having a lot of parts of the country, especially in the Pacific Northwest, but they couldn't get they couldn't get a helicopter. They couldn't get like somebody to get to, whatever.
Some kind of escort. I'm talking about police escort, not the other kind, but
no, not that
police
kind
escort or something.
Look, Portland edged out the Nets, so I guess that's the important thing if you're Chauncey Billups and the Blazers, because you needed that. The Lakers got a nice big win over the Mavs, 127-110, and D'Angelo Russell showed up. Yay!
Hey.
29 points for Mr. Russell, and look, I know we make fun, but we've been saying this for the last. If the Lakers could get that D'Angelo Russell every game, they probably wouldn't be where they are right now. They're now back at 500 as we're recording this. AD kicked in with 26. LeBron was a little bit distracted by his son's game. I will talk about that in a little bit. He had 25 points. But yeah, a really nice win for the Lakers against the Mavs.
And also to stop yanking Austin Rivers in and out of the starting lineup, I'm just saying. But as we talked about before, Lakina, Anthony Davis and LeBron James are having amazing seasons. I know they missed a combined total, I believe, 5 games. So they've been there for most of the season in terms of health. But it's the other guys, as you mentioned, with Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell in particular. And Gabe Vincent, I don't know if he's going to return this season. I know he's been hampered by various injuries all year long. But it's got to be the other guys that are going to have to step up. Taurean Prince, Jared Vanderbilt, Christian Wood, if he ever decides to get in shape. So it's all about the supporting cast for the Lakers, because like you said, right now the middle of that Western Conference is packed. And I don't know about you, I was watching the NBA Today on ESPN. I believe it was yesterday, the last couple of days, but I believe yesterday they brought up this trade proposal. I want to get your thoughts on it. Dejounte Murray, of course, the former San Antonio Spur, he's now playing with the Atlanta Hawks. This is the second season with him and Trae Young pairing up together. There's great scoring duo, but the rest of the Hawks team we know is trash. But the trade deadline is about 3 weeks away, if my math is correct. 3 weeks away from today or Thursday from that February 8th, I believe. So that's a Thursday, I believe. I'll check up on that. But regardless, rumor has it that the Lakers are looking at a possible trade, according to ESPN, for them to acquire Dejounte Murray's services. It sounds nice on paper, but I don't know that's going to solve all their problems. That maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Lakers have anything that Atlanta will want. I mean, I think if you're Atlanta, is that even worth trading? Because the Lakers really don't have much to get unless they give you
that 2029 first round pick, maybe.
Maybe I guess so. I don't know if you're Atlanta, do you want to try to pull that off? But I don't know. But I mean, they need somebody to help out, to help out LeBron and AD. So that's going to be the thing. And we've heard Zach's name, but he can't stay healthy, it looks like. And I guess they're exploring other names like Murray, but it'll be interesting to see if they do that. But like I said, I don't know if you're Atlanta, is it worth it? I mean, I don't know, but we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I mean, it sounds good on paper, but I don't know if they can pull it off. But they'll have to do a third team, so we'll see what happens there. I know Golden State has had a trying week. They've their game against Utah was postponed after Dejan Mijovic, who was their longtime assistant, was there for a lot of those 4 championships, passed away suddenly at a team dinner. I know they were supposed to play tonight too, but that game's been postponed as well. I think if you're the NBA, you try to accommodate them as much as they can, because for what it sounded like it was very traumatic. I mean, there were a lot of guys who were there when he passed, when it ended up being sadly ended up being a massive heart attack. So our thoughts and prayers go out to his family.
Yes.
Just give. I would say, like, I know Coach Curran and the guy. I know they know they have to make these games up. I know their game against Dallas was postponed as well, but they need some time. They need some time just to kind of grieve and stuff. So I'm hoping the NBA accommodates them.
Which I think they will. I think it's the right thing to do with all parties involved. Lakina, we cover these athletes. So we talk about the games and the athletes, and they spend more time together working than they do with their own family. So you do become sort of, that's your second family, sometimes even your main family, because you're around each other so much. And so you understand the Warriors' concerns and their I don't know what the words I'm looking for, but you can understand their situation, their concerns, of course. And they are a family, so when one person is down, you have to pick up. Other people have to pick each other up. So I believe that Commissioner Adam Silver and the league will do the right thing here. Yes, they'll eventually have to get back to work and carry on. I'm sure the rest of the season will be dedicated to him, but I'm not going to sit here and say, Lakina, that this quote unquote, and I don't know, trust me, I do not want to be insensitive when I say this here, but maybe, just maybe, with the untimely death of this assistant coach, maybe it'll change some things about the whole team with Steph and Clay and Draymond, and maybe they'll start playing better. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. But I know they got to get through this stage first.
Yeah, I know that Coach Decky, as they called him, Dejan Mijovic, Coach Decky, as they called him. I know that he had the task of trying to keep Draymond in check. I know it wasn't an easy task for him. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, that was like I said, I know KD posted something really nice about him as well. He was there when KD was there. So yeah, our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and the Warriors family. Just a terrible tragedy. Now back to the games. The Raptors, interestingly note here, Coach Rajakovic, who is the coach of the Raptors, they played together. Him and Coach Decky, they played together. They coached together in the Serbian national team, and they dedicated opening play to them in their game against Miami. They beat Miami pretty handily. Gary Trent had 28 points, 121-97. The Hornets beat. The Hornets beat not the Hornets. The Hornets lost to the Pelicans. My bad. Brandon Ingram had 26 points there. The Knicks beat the Rockets. The Cavs, no trouble with Milwaukee. I don't think Giannis played, so it's kind of hard to kind of make this deal. With the Cavs kind of beat the Bucks pretty handily.
Yeah, pad your stats if you're the Cavaliers. I know they've been struggling with injuries on and off throughout the season, including Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, but looks like they're starting to turn it around here a bit. Big win against Milwaukee, even though they're still, even without Giannis, they're still considered one of the top teams in the league. Of course, you saw what they did to the Bulls the other night.
Yeah.
They did blow that big lead.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, the Bulls actually had their shots, but I guess Donovan Mitchell made some big shots late. That's why the Bulls weren't able to pull off the comeback here. There was just short. Boston, no trouble with the Spurs. Atlanta just edged out the Magic, and the T-Wolves pulled away from the Pistons. Going into Tuesday's games, I saw this game on TNT. This is part of the doubleheader. The Clippers and OKC. It looks like the Clippers. I'm not gonna say the Clippers are the favorites to win the West, but they're getting better. And look, as long as everybody stays healthy, they can definitely challenge the T-Wolves for that 1 seed, and the Nuggets too.
Yeah, Paul George had a big game on Tuesday. Actually, it was an entertaining game to watch. We talked about Oklahoma City. I think they're this year's Sacramento Kings. You saw what the Kings did last year, surprising everyone, coming out of nowhere, being the 4th seed in the Western Conference. So actually, Oklahoma City this year, I believe they're number 2 this year with a 27-3 13 record now. But the Clippers, as we mentioned, they got to stay healthy. Paul George got to be the man. Kawhi Leonard, who signed that fresh cash contract extension last week, he has to stay healthy. James Harden, he's comfortable in his role. We'll see how long that lasts, i.e. come playoff time. And, of course, Russell Westbrook is coming off the bench. So Ty Lue has the perfect situation on paper. We'll just see how well will it work out. Will they add another veteran at the trade deadline? Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, they gotta stay healthy. Well, that's gonna be the key. The Suns edged out the Kings 119-117. This is despite and this actually is despite Devin Booker not having his best game. He only had 18 points. It was actually Grayson Allen that led the way for the Suns with 29. Katie right behind him with Katie right behind him with 27. Bradley Beal, had 13 points, struggled a little bit. He was a little bit kind of like up and down. I know he's still coming off the injury, but a nice win for the Suns at the very least.
Yeah, and Durant hit a couple of big free throws down the stretch, folks. It's all about fundamentals, especially during this time of the year, during that part of the game. When contest gets tight like that, it's all about the little things during the final stretches of the game. Kevin Durant hit 2 big free throws, and the Suns came out with a much-needed win at home.
Yeah, absolutely. That one could go a long way. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. And in the battle of the last couple of MVPs, Denver and Philly, I saw this game too. Another very entertaining game, right? And unfortunately, fortunately, if you're a Philly fan, it was Embiid who got the best of Jokic this time around, 126-121. I wouldn't mind this to be an NBA Finals, just saying. We're still a long way away from that, but Embiid had 41 points and 10 assists. And also on the flip side, though, for Jokic, he had 25 and 19 boards there, including 11 offensive boards, and also Jamal Murray kicked in with 17 and 10 assists. But yeah, it was really not just Embiid, it was also a supporting cast for the Sixers that kind of helped propel them to this win over the Nuggets.
And guess who had 24 points as the third guy? Tobias Harris. Yay! I said I'm putting the pressure on him to be that third guy, especially during the first few years of his career. He had all-star caliber talent, and he's been struggling the last couple years. But this year, it looks like he's finally starting to step up. He was definitely motivated the other night, including shooting 2 of 4 from three-point range. You know what Tyrese Maxey, what he's going to bring. He had 25 points, including 4 and 9 shooting from downtown. Lakina, I want to ask you this about Tyrese Maxey and Jalen Brunson. And I'm going to add the third guy in there, too, in Tyrese Halliburton. Out of those 3, I know the fan voting is going on right now. You can vote at NBA.com and other places on social media, via social media at the NBA. Out of those 3 guys, Tyrese Halliburton, Tyrese Maxey, and Jalen Brunson, which one of those 3 guys should be starting point guard for the Eastern Conference All-Stars next month?
I think Halliburton, just because he does it more consistently. Like I said, Maxey sometimes you don't usually see him. I know Jalen Brown's had his struggles through the season as well. So I think Halliburton, just because I think that experience with the NCAA tournament, I think will help him in the voting there. But like I said, I think also he's more consistent with his play, so I think that definitely helps too. I think that's probably what's going to get him over the edge. I think among those 3, but I think all 3 will get it in some way.
I will have a vote for Jalen Brunson because he stepped up this game for this Knicks team. Like unlike last year where he was feeling himself out, he had a good year, but this year he's increased his numbers in all offensive categories: points per game, assist, and 3-point shooting. He's really making that Knicks team go right now. So my personal vote for starting program for the All-Star game is Jalen Brunson. But you may be right, Tyrese Halliburton may get it. And the way the All-Star voting has this new system of All-Star voting for the starters is 50% fans, 25% players, and 25% media.
Yeah, so that's what's gonna it's what's gonna propel, I think, Halliburton over the edge. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, it'll be fun these next couple of weeks as voting comes to a close in about a week or 2. Now, talking about the weekend here in the NBA, tonight, Friday, whenever this is posted on the Ward Media channels, San Antonio and Charlotte at 6, Philadelphia and Orlando The first game of the ESPN, I should say, Friday night doubleheader. You got Denver and Boston. That
should have been last year's finals matchup.
Yes, it should have, but yeah, maybe it might be this year's finals matchup. Who knows? Atlanta and Miami, Phoenix and New Orleans, Indiana and Portland. Hopefully, DeAndre will be there, on time. And also Brooklyn continues their West Coast road trip in the last game, the second game of the doubleheader at Los Angeles, the Lakers.
Tomorrow, Saturday, the Memphis Grizzlies, as Lakina mentioned earlier, after losing last night at Minnesota, they'll travel to Chicago to take on the Bulls at 7 o'clock from the UC. Other action for Saturday night tomorrow, Milwaukee Bucks will travel to Detroit to take on the Pistons. Philadelphia will visit Charlotte. San Antonio will visit our nation's capital to take on the Washington Wizards. The Cleveland Cavaliers will visit Atlanta to take on the Hawks. The Raptors will travel to MSG to face the New York Knicks. The Utah Jazz will face the Houston Rockets. That should be a good, entertaining battle there. And wrapping up the Saturday night schedule, we'll have the Oklahoma City Thunder at the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is going to be a good game, Latina. You have the top two seeds, the top two teams in the Western Conference. You saw what Minnesota did last night, and you watched my guy Anthony Edwards, what he's been doing these last two games with those spectacular dunks at Detroit, and then again last night with the poor man's version of Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter toss off the backboard to himself for the dunk. He's going to be ready to play against these young boys tomorrow night.
Should be fun. It's too bad it's not going to be televised, but
you can watch your NBA League Pass or via this computer screen. Just saying.
Yeah, it's true. Sunday's matchups, you got Brooklyn and the Clippers at 2:30. Because the Lakers are playing that same, later that night. That's why the Clippers are going to play it. So we're playing early. Well, I'm sure they'll be happy once they get their new arena built. We'll probably talk about that later in time. Miami and Orlando, and Denver and Washington at 5 also.
Wrapping up the Sunday night schedule in the NBA, looks like this. Boston will continue their road trip. Will start their West Coast road trip. They'll take on the Houston Rockets. The Indiana Pacers will continue their West Coast road trip as they'll face the Phoenix Suns. I think the combined total will be over 220 points. I think that'll be a safe bet. Wherever the total points are for that day, take the over. I'm just saying. Poor man's bet here. Entertainment purposes only. And as Lakina mentioned, the last game on that Sunday night schedule will be the Portland Trail Blazers at the Los Angeles Lakers. I think DeAndre Ayton will make this one.
Yeah, I think so too. Because I think he's right around from that area. Yeah, I was like, he should be able to get there just fine. And that is the schedule for this weekend in the NBA. As this is XCE Sports on Sports of Chicago. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown with you. Wrapping things up on the hour number 1. Let's go. Let's do some college hoops. I don't want to like condense it, but yeah, I think we may have to go back to it, but we will after the break. But Illinois got a nice win against Michigan, pulling away from them. It was close for a little bit. I mean, I think Michigan had the lead for a little bit at one point early on, but Coleman Hawkins, 21 points. They led the way. I think he had like 14 points in the second half as well, so that helped. That helped the Illini beat an upset-minded Michigan team.
Yeah, the Fighting Illini played terrific defense, especially in that second half. Ty Rodgers was also the man as well. I believe he chipped in with 15. The Fighting Illini didn't take that many threes, but they shot it decent enough at 33%. They also had a 10-plus rebound edge over Michigan, 39-29. So it was a much-needed win for the Fighting Illini after losing at home to a good upstart Maryland team last Sunday afternoon. It was a nice bounce-back win for the Fighting Illini. I know they have a home game on Sunday. We'll give you that schedule in a few minutes. But the Illini stepped it up when they need to, especially in that second half. And now they improved their record to 13-4 on the year.
Yeah, they're right there to think of it in the Big Ten. So, like I said, we'll get to all that in a little bit here. Some of the other games. South Florida came back from 15 down to meet the Memphis 7-4-73. I saw this into this game. I mean, Memphis, fell for some bad shots late, and to their credit, South Florida is actually one of the top, 3-point shooting teams in the country. So that's what really propelled them to overcoming and getting this upset win in Memphis.
I forgot who's that big guy for South Florida, number 11. They just let him shoot freely, especially in that second. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And then, like you said, Memphis starting to play bad down the stretch, and of course, it came down to a free throw.
Yeah, that that was I forgot that. I keep forgetting the guy's name. Keyshawn Pryor, that's who you're talking about. He was the guy that yeah,
Yeah.
he's a big guy but he can shoot the three at like crazy. So he was able to they kind of like let him be a little bit too freely there. That's kind of what helped up or probably the upset win for South Florida. Some of the other games here, Michigan State with a nice win against Minnesota. It's from yesterday. Let's see anything else. James Madison over Louisiana Monroe. Utah beat Oregon State. That's about it for that part. Oh, Wazoo. No, not Wazoo. Oh yeah, Wazoo over Stanford. They're putting together a nice little resume. Going to Wednesday's matchups real quick. That was when a lot of the upsets happened. Even besides that, UConn no trouble with Creighton. Just I think UConn is just like showing you why they're the defending champions. Just amazing what they've been doing there. North Carolina no trouble with Louisville. Houston again, bounced back for those last two losses. They beat Texas Tech. UK was announced bounce back win. Arizona beat USC. That's the ending of the deal because unfortunately SC actually did keep it close, but unfortunately Arizona, their big shots. They pulled away late there. Thanks to Kayla Love's 20 points. Auburn no trouble with Vanderbilt. Oklahoma nice bounce back win. LSU they beat Ole Miss. Florida State, they're quietly undefeated in the ACC. Don't tell Larry Howard doesn't want you to know that, but they're 5-0 in the ACC so far. Yeah, that's about it there. Northwestern beat Maryland. Speaking of Maryland,
nice bounce back win for Chris Collins and crew.
Yeah, very nice. Providence over DePaul. I'll save my. We don't have time for that, so yeah, we're almost like. Well, I know we're up against it, but yeah. Tuesday, a lot of like I said, a lot of upsets there. Basically, everyone's beating each other up in the Big 12, so that's pretty cool. But let's get to this weekend's matchups.
Yeah, the only matchup in the top 25 tonight, you can see that on FS1 at 7:30. That's Indiana at number 11, Wisconsin. Indiana's at 12-6. Wisconsin at 13-4. So that should be another good battle in the Big Ten there. Now, tomorrow, Saturday, great games on the docket here. Number 9, Baylor at Texas. That's at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on ESPN.
No, yeah, both are hoping to bounce back from. They had a couple of tough losses. Texas lost to UCF, and Ronnie Terry was not very happy with the UCF guys going with the horns down thing. I don't look. don't pull an 18-point lead, and then you'll be fine.
Who's upset more? Who's more upset, him or Bobby Hurley?
Oh, geez, he's had a pretty. Yeah, yeah. Well, at least he. Well, both of them kept it kind of like even tones. They didn't like. I know. Coach Hoyer swore a couple of times, but I don't think it was nothing too harsh there. Marquette and St. John's. That's also 11 a.m. on Fox. Creighton, Seton Hall, Shanine Holloway, his guys, they put up together a nice little resume. Beating Creighton will definitely put another little topper there. Let's see here. Dayton as they host Rhode Island. That's 11 a.m. on the USA Network. Part of that new TV deal with them.
Yeah, and your doubleheader on the CW Network for tomorrow. First game would be Virginia Tech at North Carolina State. Check your local affiliate for the CW. Of course, here in Chicago's WGN, where they broadcast the games. And it will be followed by North Carolina at Boston College at 1:15 Central Standard Time.
Should be interesting there. Oklahoma and Cincy. That's going to be the Big 12 ESPN Plus network. Mountain West, you got San Diego State and Boise State. San Diego State hoping to bounce back. They had a couple of nice little bounce back wins there. Let's see the night matchups. Houston, also the Big 12 ESPN Plus network. They host UCF. UCF hoping to pull off another upset. Purdue and Iowa. That's at 1 on FS1. Tennessee, they host Alabama on ESPN2 at 1. Iowa State and TCU. That should be a fun one at 1 on ESPNU.
Did you hear about their women's team? And talking about TCU real quick, looking at that to postpone their last two games because they didn't have enough players.
Yeah, I saw
that. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's a little night that's still happening with all the NIL stuff, but I guess they've had a lot of injuries there, so that's probably why they've had to postpone a lot of their games. Like they only had like 5 scholarship players, so kind of weird what's happening down there in down there in TCU, but on the women's side. But oh boy, Arizona and as they host UCLA, West Virginia they host Kansas on that Big 12 ESPN Plus network. Don't ask me why they're doing that. Any other? Let me just go down there real quick with the night match that we're up against it. Let me see here. Kentucky and Georgia. Tom Crean and his guys. They go to Rupp Arena in Lexington. That should be a good one at 5:00 on SC Network. BYU at Texas Tech. That's at 5:00 ESPN2. The Nightcappers here. Duke and Pittsburgh. That'll be on ACT Network. UConn at Villanova. That's gonna be at 7:00 on FS1. Ole Miss and Auburn on the SC Network at 7:30. And yeah, that's about it there. Gonzaga at San Diego. That's on ESPN Plus at 9. Any matchups that piques your interest?
Yes, 2 big matchups on Sunday at high noon Central Standard Time. Number 10 Memphis will travel to the great state of Louisiana to take on the Tulane Green Wave. That's on ESPN2 at high noon on Sunday. And, of course, at the same time on the Big Ten Network, Rutgers will travel to Champaign to take on the number 14 ranked team in the country, the Fighting Illini.
Yeah, hoping because last couple of times they played Rutgers beat Illinois, so yeah, I'm sure they're gonna want their revenge there, and that's just good for this weekend in college hoops.
Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 straight ahead as you listen to the hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports. We will have to discuss the big old line of potential offensive coordinators going in and out of Hallis Hall. It's a bunch of musical chairs. Where will the music stop? And, of course, we'll give you our previews of NFL Divisional Playoff Weekend, and we'll have our girl, Christine, the Queen Manika. That and a whole lot more as you're listening to Second City Sports right here live in the living color on Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared. I mean, you're so
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of this hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can find my King Mickey on the Twitter, X, at Kingsbury, and IG.
We have less than 50 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments or opinions for us, you can always find us at Sports on Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports on Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can catch Sports on Chicago now available on Roku TV.
All right, Sid. As you said, that the Bears OC musical chairs, the search for office of coordinator continue. Exactly. And I guess after interviewing, Marcus Brady, who was, I think, who's the running back, the QB coach over down there in Tennessee. But now it looks like Kliff Kingsbury, of course, who's the game coordinator and of course the QB coach over at USC. They're actually going to be traveling to Los Angeles, which that kind of, I don't know about how you feel, so but that kind of a head scratcher. I know some of the people we know that who cover the Bears, they were shocked by this. We've been saying his name for since this whole thing started. They're going to Los Angeles, which makes me think, wait a second. If this just is like a courtesy thing, for Caleb Williams, there is Zoom. You could have just called him. Why are you going all the way to Los Angeles?
The only thing I can think of is the Bears are trying to kill two birds with one stone. If they don't want anybody to find out about it, they're doing a bad job. Their mess is sloppy.
Yeah, it is.
That's
pretty
the thing I can think of.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy how that works. And we know also the other names we have floating around. We talk about Shane Warder, who used to be the OC at the Seahawks, and of course Clint Kubiak, who we know his dad Gary. He was an office of genius. So no reason why it wouldn't run the family there. But so what do you think? This is kind of like who round and round we go. Where we stop? Nobody knows.
I heard someone say this the other night, and I should give this person credit. Hopefully, we can get this person on our program down the road, and that's Jason Goff. I'm just paraphrasing a little bit. He said this about Kliff Kingsbury, as you mentioned, that he's been interviewed by the Bears and working with USC. If he becomes your next your next OC for the Bears, don't you think that may pose a threat to Matt Eberflus, who's going to be under the gun next year, going into his third year, trying to win to keep his job? Because we all know that the McCaskies don't like to make coaching changes right in the middle of the season. That's just not their protocol. But if Kliff Kingsbury, who may be hired, let's just say if he does, and we saw what he did with Arizona, especially with him and that fractured relationship between him and Kyler Murray. Don't you think they'll pose a threat to Matt Eberflus? I think it would.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting that they would go this route. I know Poles is there. I wonder if Flus is there. I doubt Coach Flus is going to be there part of that trip. They go the contingent that goes to Los Angeles to talk to Coach Kingsbury.
What do you think?
Yeah, I doubt that. As our buddy Ross Reed, with our buddy Evan Mack, of course, you guys on the Ballroom Network on their show. But he even said that no Whole Foods is safe in the suburbs if he gets hired. You can make your own conclusions with that one. But but yeah, I mean, look, it just seems a little weird that they would do all this. But I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I guess I don't know. But it is a little weird that this is just a common courtesy, thing. I mean, if he really is being considered, is sort of like, I mean, we know the coaching did not work out over in Arizona. We saw this that happened, that kind of transpired, even outside of the fractured relationship he ended up having with Kyler Murray. He knows Williams' sort of like faults and idiosyncrasies. So it could just be that, or maybe he really is being considered for the OC job. Who knows? But there have been about a dozen, 6 or 7 guys that have already been interviewed so far. And does any of them really impress you? Is there a standout to you?
Outside the outside circumstances with Kliff Kingsbury, no. But I don't know if they're going to get Byron Leftwich an interview. I know they interviewed Greg Roman, I believe, so early in the process. So here's the thing, Lakina. One of the first questions that I would have for them, hopefully the Bears are responsible, they were asked they haven't asked these candidates, shame on them, but I'm sure they asked these candidates, what would your offensive game plan be if we drafted Caleb Williams or Drake May? What would your game plan be if we decided to keep Justin Fields? Or how would you handle the situation if we drafted Caleb Williams, have him sit for a year, and what would you do with Justin Fields? You got to provide and present every scenario to these candidates, because all those options we talked about. I'm sure we're going to talk about it ad nauseum very in its actual news, but all scenarios are on the table here.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Like I said, I don't think they've made. I think, like I said, I think Poles has already made up his mind about Fields, and the way Fields was talking at the end of that video presser last week, it sounds like he's gone. So again, I don't want to read too much into it, but it sounds like he's gone. So I know the locker room. I know DJ Moore and a few other guys have said that they like Fields and whatnot. So if they do trade Fields, and that's the route they go to with Caleb Williams, is that going to fresh the locker room? So I think all the ducks got to be in a row. And I think if you're the Bears, you got to cover all your bases and keeping a kind of an eye on what it is now. If Kliff Kingsbury does take the job, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if, like you said, it could Flus. If you're Flus, you have to work with this guy, and if he does pose a threat, especially if you stink, if the Bears come up, go out to a bad start next year, you're out and Kingsbury's in. If he does well, he may end up getting the job. So I know we're kind of way ahead of ourselves in this, but I'm sure that's going to factor in. If you're Flus, you're probably thinking about that in the back of your mind.
I want to talk about this for a moment, Lakina. You brought up the locker room. You do have to worry about the locker room, because at least from the defensive side, those defensive players have head coach Matt Eberflus's back. That is evident. We saw that especially at the second half of the season, and when they added Montez Sweat via trade at the trade deadline. On the flip side, for the offense, it seems like at least publicly, most of those receivers are behind, and the offensive linemen are behind Justin Fields. I know our guy Sean Sierra played the clip on his show the other day, but I think it was Jalen Johnson. He was a guest on Keyshawn Johnson's podcast from FS1 Undisputed, and he talked about Justin Fields and what he means to the team and what it means to that locker room. So at least publicly, you have the majority of the Bears players on Justin Fields' side. And if you're Ryan Poles, the GM, you have to worry about the locker room. But at the same time, you got to do what's best for the team and for the organization as well. Unfortunately, you cannot make everyone happy, but you got to consider the culture of the locker room. It's much better, as we know, than it was a year ago when we had to tear everything down.
Yeah, and like I said, going to the great woman thing for a second. I know everybody wants to tout that, he did this for Colin Kaepernick. He got Lamar Jackson his first MVP. Well, here's the thing. If you listen to Des Bryant, I know Des Bryant said some silly stuff recently. I know, but he was there for a lot of that time in Baltimore, and it didn't work out very well for him over there. And there's a reason why Baltimore fans wanted him out of there. I'm talking about Roman in those last couple of years. So they figured him out. So I think for everybody would say, it's just that. No, I mean, there's a reason why he's not coaching right now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm sure it's going to go on and on. I'm sure right up until probably the Super Bowl. So I doubt. Who knows when the Bears will hire somebody? I'm sure they're going to take their time. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Now, some other names that are being floated around. It looks like, I guess maybe Bill Belichick is one of the favorites for the Falcons job. That's what it sounds like. If you listen to some of the, I know he and Arthur Blank, they're very tight. So what do you think? Do you think there's he'll be the favorite in that division? If you're being in the NFC South, if we're being honest, but.
I think he'll be a good fit for Atlanta, but here's the thing. I heard a caller bring up this QB's name last night on the national radio show. I want to get your take on this. At least it made me pause to think this quarterback could be a perfect fit for Bill Belichick, or Bill Belichick, as I call him on this show, so respectfully. But I know people think that he does. There's some reports, if you believe reports, that he doesn't like Justin Fields. A couple of people say he likes Justin Fields. I'm talking about Bill Belichick if he were to take this job. But one name that, as I mentioned, this caller brought up on the national show last night, which I think that could work with Bill Belichick, Kirk Cousins.
I think
that makes more sense. Because you're in a win now mode if you're Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
The Falcons have a defense. Their secondary is not too bad. And offensively, you have Drake London, who could be one of the best young wide receivers in the NFL when it's all said and done. You got John Robinson, who's good, but he was being misused at times this past season. And so if you put Kirk Cousins there, you definitely can make some headway there.
Yeah, and then you go Kyle Pitts. He may actually use him, so there's another
exactly free Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, they know free Kyle Pitts as some of his fans call him. But yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, if you're, because Coach Belichick's not going to want to do a rebuild, so it will be interesting to see if there is a deal in place for Atlanta. I mean, that's going to be kind of like the thing where if you're him, I think he definitely would rather have Cousins and Fields, but that's another. We're going a little too far ahead, but we'll see what happens with that. Now the Chargers, they've interviewed Jim Harbaugh, David Shaw, which is a name that kind of I'm kind of with our buddy Twan Staley, who does a great job covering the Jets for New York Daily News. He kind of like, really, okay. I guess I mean,
I know the Rooney Rule's in effect, but are they really considering him for that job, or they just use him as a ploy? You know what word I want to use, but I'm not going to make the chance of using that T word. They're
better black candidates if that's the route you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah, another person against David Shaw, but are you using him to fill your quote unquote protocol of the Rooney Rule? I'm just asking that question. Nothing against David Shaw personally, but are you using him to fill in your quota, or is he a serious candidate? I think that's a fair question to ask.
Especially when there are when there are better candidates out there, but I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what transpires down there, because they're gonna have to get rid of a lot of guys, because they got a lot of older guys that are on expiring contracts. So there may be a rebuild over there in with the Chargers. So we'll see what happens there. Now, will Nick Sirianni be out at Philadelphia? I'd say no. I know there have been some stuff that kind of came out, especially off the field and other stuff, but it's amazing how Philly fans can turn on something. I guess that's Philly for you.
I know that Nick Sirianni is supposed to have a meeting with the owner today, so we'll see what happens with that. I think I'm with you, Lakina. I think he's going to keep his job, but you're going to see a lot of changes on his coaching staff. We'll see what happens in free agency, how their roster is going to change. But like you said, the way they played the other night against Tampa Bay, I thought they'll have better effort than what they did. I'm sure Nick Sirianni is discussing right now with the owner what went wrong after starting the season 10-1. I know Jalen Hurts got hurt toward the end there, unlike last year when he came back in the playoffs and he helped take the team to the Super Bowl. But what's the problem? What can you do to correct it? And he's got to convince the owner that he knows what he's doing. Which I'm with you, assuming that Nick Sirianni comes back next year, he's going to be in the same boat as Matt Eberflus. So they get off to a hot start. I'm sure that Jeffrey Lurie is going to give him the quick hook.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what happens with that. I know that the Seahawks and Commanders and the Titans, they're just starting their process. They probably won't have their process, fully completed probably until after the Super Bowl. So we'll keep you guys updated on that as I can see. And the Raiders too. So hopefully by this time next week they'll hire Antonio Pierce. I don't know what's taking Mark Davis so long, but I don't know what, because it doesn't seem like Harbaugh's interested in that job. I think even he lobbied for Pierce to get the job. So that should tell you something if you're thinking about that. But I know that he wants to, and if you're a Pierce, you want to cover all your base. I know he interviewed down there in Tennessee and also Atlanta as well. So he's probably getting, making sure he gets all his ducks in a row and has a plan B just in case this doesn't work out over Las Vegas, I should say. But we'll see what happens there. As I can see, sports on Sports of Chicago, Keena McGee sitting around with you with our girl Christy Macko. Will join us in a little bit. Let's talk about these. Anything else you want to talk about before we want to get to divisional round games?
Yeah, let's get to the divisional round games.
All right. Interesting. No, we're all 5-1. Oddly enough, the only loss was the Green Bay loss. Really, but we'll start with Baltimore and Houston. That game will be on ABC, ESPN tomorrow today. Listen to this in the War Media podcast at 3:30 Central Time. I know they met early this year, and Houston actually kept up with with Baltimore for a little bit before Baltimore pulled away. Like I kind of see the same thing happening here. I was hoping that Mark Andrews would be up to play, but it looks like he's not going to be able to play just yet. I know that Marlon Humphrey, people want to make a big deal about that, but they've actually been playing without him pretty much most of the season, so that's really has not really deterred them that much. If you're Baltimore, you want to kind of set the tone early. You want to jump on the Texans early on. Use Lamar's skill set. Try to kind of confuse that defense. You still got the secondary is a little bit wonky in Houston. So if you're the Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham Jr., you can take advantage of that.
Also, too, I believe the two keys for the Texans are this: can you keep Lamar Jackson in the pocket? And number two, you have to run the ball at least 20 to 25 times with Devin Singletary. I know he didn't have to do that much last week as the Browns. They blew out the Browns, but this is going to be a much tougher game looking. I think much tougher than their week one matchup with C.J. Stroud trying to figure everything out. Baltimore, as you mentioned, Lamar Jackson, he can make plays with his feet and with his arm, and so he's a double threat from that standpoint. But I think it's going to come down to how Houston wants to play Lamar Jackson. Can you keep him in the pocket? If you do, I think you can create a couple of turnovers because Baltimore at times they like to put the ball out, and you can cause a couple of turnovers if you Houston's defense. So in their front four, they got to get some pressure on Lamar Jackson. So like I said, just keep him in the pocket. A couple of sacks would be nice, but keep Lamar Jackson in the pocket. You'll have a great shot at the end. And you got to run the ball with the Devin Singletary between 20 and 25 times, in my opinion.
If you're the Baltimore, you want to try to use your defense as much as you can. Try to blitz the Texans as much as you can with Roquan Smith and Javian Clowney, and perhaps maybe use Kyle Hamilton to kind of that skill set to kind of like confuse the receiver. So if you're Baltimore, you want to sort of try to. You don't want to give Houston a shot at winning. You just don't. You want to kind of keep that going there. The nightcap for tomorrow night or tonight. You got San Francisco and Green Bay. We know that these two teams, you love playing against each other in the playoffs, especially. If you're San Fran, I think you're not gonna play down to your competition like Dallas did, last weekend. Use that experience to try to like confuse Green Bay and just try to kind of, like I said, try to jump on them early and just don't give them any room.
Yeah, for San Francisco. Shut down the run via Aaron Jones. You saw what he's been doing these last couple of games. Of course, the regular season finale against the Bears with 111 yards rushing. And, of course, you saw what he did last week with 3 rushing touchdowns against the Cowboys. So, for the 49ers, shut down the run. And I want to see George Kittle exposed to the middle of that Packers defense, especially with their linebackers not being as strong. I expect George Kittle to have a big performance tomorrow night.
It'll be interesting, like you said. I mean, look, I'm sure, the Packers are playing with house money. So if you're the Packers, you want to try to, trying to kind of like, sort of like surprise, the 49ers. But I think they've seen everything. I'm talking about the 49ers. So, again, we'll see what happens there as our girl is here. And let's bring her on. She is our girl from KXRB in Sioux Falls. She is your buddy. She's our buddy, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika. Hey, Christine.
Hello. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday indeed. And incidentally, like we said, we all were 5-1 last week. So we all did we all were actually off to a really good start. Like I said, the Green Bay game is what got all of us. So go figure. Go figure with that. We were just going through these games real just kind of doing the keys and stuff like that. The Sunday game, the first one will be on NBC. You got Tampa Bay and Detroit. Honestly, I think other than the fact that the reporter from Tampa who had no clue that Detroit's been playing indoors since their existence.
Who was that?
So I guess they didn't say who she was or where she was from. I know she was a Tampa Bay reporter. I guess this is one of their affiliates down there. And apparently,
gosh,
yeah, she asked Todd Bowles, "What's gonna be like, playing outdoors?" Google search. They've been playing indoors for like the last 50 years. Like, I'm just saying.
Wow.
Yeah. Go through that Todd Bowles presser from Tuesday. It'll show you, Christy.
Will it show up on one of those YouTube videos one day when reporters ask stupid questions?
It'll probably be up there too. I'm sure it's probably up there. Okay, well, I'll give you your picks, Christine. What do you think the key is going to be for this one?
You know what? I think as long as the Detroit Lions play their game, they're in pretty good shape. Honestly, this game can go either way. Tampa Bay is getting hot at the right time, and Baker Mayfield, he's really showing his stuff, and he's showing that he still deserves to be a starting quarterback. And you got guys still on the Buccaneers like Mike Evans. That's a really good asset and a good target for Baker Mayfield to hit too. When it comes to the Lions, I just think the glue besides Jared Goff and Montgomery and all the other aspects that you have to this team is Dan Campbell. I really think he's just rejuvenated the team ever since he's stepped onto that field and stepped into the Detroit area, really. And it's awesome to see them succeeding and to see just what the Cinderella story is turning out to be for them.
I think the key here for this game is the Tampa Bay front four. They did a tremendous job last Monday against Jalen Hurts and crew in Philadelphia. And they got away with not running the ball as much. But I think the Buccaneers are going to have to run the ball at least 25 to 30 times with Rashard White. The keys to me for Tampa Bay, running the ball with more consistency and can their front get constant pressure on Jared Goff. Will force him to put up a couple of interceptions.
Also, too, I think for me, I think can Baker Mayfield take advantage of that secondary for Detroit? We know Detroit. That's the one thing their defense is not very good. Is their secondary? We saw that against those 2 meetings against the Bears. So we'll see if Tampa can expose that. Now we'll take a really quick break. We're going to stretch a little bit. We'll do all our picks. We'll ask Christine about the potential White Sox new stadium. And so much more to talk with her about in addition to the divisional round picks. Lakina McGee, City Brown, our girl Christine Macco, KXRB. This is Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago, and picks and wrap round coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports in this hashtag Football Friday edition. We're live in the Living Color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. It's Christine. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You follow my Keita McGee on the Twitter, X, at Kiosco again, the IG.
This is our last show for the week and our last break for the weekend for the weekend. So make these questions and comments and these opinions great. So you want to reach out to us. This is our last segment of the show for today and for the week. As I mentioned, you can always find us at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions, comments, and opinions in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, it's divisional round picks time. Now, of course, like I said, we were all 5-1 last week in the Super Wild Card weekend. Hopefully, we'll keep that going here. It'll be the bookends for the AFC as we start tomorrow. Today, for those of you listening to this on the War Media Pod. You got the Texans and the Ravens. Like I said, they faced each other early on in week one. Like I said, the Ravens were able to pull that off against the Texans. Christine, you start this one for us.
This is going to be a good game now that CJ Stroud is really into his own, and the Texans weren't even supposed to be in this position. So they're really excited and amped up for this game for sure. When it comes to the Ravens, you're facing a potential MVP right now in Lamar Jackson. And you also got guys like Roquan Smith. That's going to be a big challenge when it comes to the Texans offense. And plus, now they have the addition of Dalvin Cook. That's going to be another weapon that the Ravens have in their corner. And it's a home game. Ravens fans, they're crazy. Baltimore fans are really rowdy out there. And this is going to be a good matchup, way different from what it was when they first faced each other. But I still think in the end, I think Baltimore is going to be able to pull out this win. It'll be close, but it will definitely be a Ravens victory, I think.
Christine always mentions those Ravens fans going Raven wild. So we'll see what happens. Yes, they do. They do. They do. Yeah, for Lamar Jackson, you mentioned, Christine, the pressure is going to be on him. I think this is the first time since 2019 when he won an MVP, the first time that they'll have home field advantage. You know what happened in that one. Tennessee upset them mighty heavily. But I think this time things are going to be different. Like I said, Houston's going to play them tough, but I think Baltimore is going to pull away at the end. So I'm going to have Baltimore win this game, and they are favored by 9.5 points at home.
Yeah, I'll take the point. Yeah, 9.5. Okay, yeah, I'll take the points because I don't think the Ravens are going to blow out the Texans. I think the Texans are going to stay. Mm-hmm. They're going to fight, but I think the Ravens will be too much. Yeah, I think the bar is like on a mission, so I kind of feel like he hasn't played. They haven't played a playoff game in about 4 or 5 years. He hasn't played since the 2019 game. We saw what happened there against Cincinnati. So yeah, I'm picking the Ravens, but it'll be close though. It'll be close, not like field goal close, but I think it'll definitely be right there. They'll be within a touchdown. I think I'm talking about the Texans. Second game out. Say you start this one. This will be on Fox. We got Green Bay and San Fran. It's not the first time these two teams have played each other in the playoffs, so they're the face have changed, but the meat of it is still the same.
Yeah, they almost sent Aaron Rodgers into retirement a couple of years ago with that loss with the Green Bay losing at home at Lambeau Field. That was beautiful, but I know circumstances are different now. Of course, the Cowboys, they were upset by these upstart Green Bay Packers last week. The 49ers coming off a bye. As I said in our last break, and I'll say it here again, it's going to come down to the 49ers stopping the run, and we're going to see how Brock Purdy, what he's really made of. Last year, he came out of nowhere and helped the 49ers get to the NFC title game before he got hurt in that title game. This year, the boogie's out on him, and he didn't finish strong to the regular season. I think this is going to be a big-time pressure check for him. I expect him to have a big game. I expect George Kittle, their tight end, to have a big game. So I'm going with the 49ers at home on this one.
I love this matchup just because of the quarterback situation. You have Brock Purdy and then you got Jordan Love, two guys that nobody thought would make it far in the NFL. Jordan Love maybe farther than what Brock Purdy thought that people would do, but this is just a great quarterback story in general and two young quarterbacks. And like what you said, you have to stop the run game with the Green Bay Packers. But what the 49ers have is just it's a stacked team with McCaffrey, Debo, Kittle, all those guys. It's just going to call for a monster game, and that's going to be a monster victory. Do I think it's going to be a blowout? No, but I do think that the 49ers have the advantage of not only having a stronger team, but also having that extra week in between to get healthy and to get rested. And you still have a significant amount of Packers who are still injured. Christian Watson, he didn't play last week. He still's got that hamstring injury going on. So when it comes to that situation, think of it that way as well. So 49ers are going to take this one.
Yeah, it'll be the 49ers, but I think it's going to be a lot closer. I'm not going to say that they're going to blow them out. I think the Packers do have enough to kind of stay with them for a little bit, but CMC, getting him healthy that extra week, like you said, Chrissy, I think helps a lot, for all those guys. And I think they're on a mission too. I think they feel like they kind of should have went to the Super Bowl last year. I'm talking about the 49ers.
Mhm.
So I think they're on a mission. And I think, look, they got the Packers at home. They're gonna want to send a message. So it'll be close, not like super close, but like I said with the Texas Ravens game. But I think the 49ers will pull away late. I think this will be one of those types of games. I feel like it'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah, the 49ers are favored by 9.5 at home.
I give it the 9.5. My God.
Wow. Lucky number.
Yeah, it must be. So I'll be interested to see what the plates are for this one. The first game, which is Sunday at 2:00 on NBC. You got the Lions and the Bucks. Of course, the Lions is the first they've been in a long time. The Bucks, this is their first rodeo, either for some of those guys. I think for me, like you guys said, Rashard White, get that running game going with him. We know that run defense isn't the best and the secondary isn't the best. So if you're Baker Mayfield and that offense, you don't want to try and kind of like set the tone early. Get the Lions rattled. First, you're Goff to throw those turnovers like he does occasionally. So I think I'm almost tempted to pick Tampa, but I'm picking the Lions just because it's gonna be a close one. I think I'm picking the Lions. I'm too cheap to pick the Bucks.
I think part of the reason why Jared Goff did so well last week against the Rams was because his line really protected him. He had enough time in the pocket to find his guy or to run the ball, and that caused him not to throw as many interceptions or to have so many turnovers in the game. So I think if the line plays the same way as what they did last week against the Rams, which is probably arguably a little bit more competitive than what's going to be seen this weekend, I think the Lions are going to be in pretty good shape. Now, I'm not saying that Tampa isn't going to go all out and show their aggression and show their competitiveness. I'm just saying that you don't know what you're going to get out of the Buccaneers, and that's how they've kind of been all season. Were they supposed to be in this situation? Absolutely not. Was their division up for grabs? Yeah, it could have gone to anybody, but it went to the Buccaneers. I do think it's going to be a good game to watch, maybe possibly a really fun game for the Lions fans. And home field, and I think just from what I saw last week, that strength within the Lions program, I'm sticking with the Lions.
I'm not going to do my analysis because I did that before the break, but I will caution the Detroit Lions players and the fans this. Do not underestimate what Tampa Bay did. I know on the outside looking in, people think that Tampa Bay, quote unquote, had that Super Bowl by knocking out the defending NFC champs last week on Monday night at home. But do not take these Buccaneers lightly. We talked about with Houston earlier. They're playing with house money. We talked about that with Green Bay last week when they upset Dallas. They're playing with house money. So I think this could be a whole lot closer than what people think. I am going with the Lions, and they are favored by 6.5.
All right, that's a That sounds a little bit better without that 6.5. So, but yeah, like you said, so I just don't see the Lions one of the Bucks. I just don't see that happening. All right, we got the creme de la creme here. This will be on CBS prime time. You've got the Chiefs and the Bills at 5:30 Central Time. Of course, this goes back to the matchup from earlier last month, where of course the Bills beat the Chiefs. With all the weird, not knowing Chiefs not know where they're supposed to stand or whatever. I know people want to make fun of that, take that into account, but I think here's what I think what's different about it this time. I feel like I know the Bills have kind of had some injuries. They're a little bit banged up, but I feel like there's a little bit of a heart here, and in that early matchup. Josh Allen didn't make any mistakes. If he can, look, we always said a few minutes ago with Lamar Jackson, he's got a lot to prove, and so does Josh Allen. He needs to have a good game here to kind of get to that next tier. So beating, the Chiefs again, look, it's gonna be hard to do. Look, you get them at home in Highmark Stadium, that place is gonna be rocking, cold weather and snow and all. But I think if the Bills can set the tone with that offense, keep Mahomes and them off the field, try to run through that run defense of the Chiefs and Frank Clark. On the flip side, if you're the defense of the Bills, try to see what you did, against the Chiefs in that first matchup, and try to see if you can replicate that. Try to force Mahomes, kind of rile him a little bit. Try to get to Kelsey and and Scantling and all those guys. So yeah, I feel like the Bill. I know it's gonna be tough to beat the Chiefs twice a year, but I think the Bills are gonna do just that. I think the Bills. I think they know that they have a shot here. They've been hot lately, so I'll pick the Bills.
Normally, I would agree with you, Lakina, when you say that it would be tough to beat the Chiefs twice in 1 year. But this is a way different team than in years past. It's not the same strength. It's something just hasn't been clicking right this year. And it's not just the game that happened earlier between the Bills and the Chiefs. It's been going on all season long. And I think that game in particular just highlighted some of the faults and the cracks that the Chiefs have been dealing with all season long. That game on Monday with the Steelers and the Bills, which felt like a weird Sunday afternoon game to me, that was so explosive for the Bills and definitely something that they needed too. I love it how every touchdown that they had, it was by 4 individual players. It just wasn't one guy. It was 4 individual players, including Josh Allen running in his own touchdown, which nobody thought he can run in that 52-yard touchdown. Mm-hmm. So it just shows, I think, a turning point within this team. I would like it if Barkley would get in more on the action. He's just been really quiet this year for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe it's something it's on the field, something off the field, but I would like to see him get a little bit more action. And definitely you have to have that O-line be strong in order to avoid Josh having those potential turnovers. And again, it's a different Chiefs team. They're just not the same. They're not at the same strength as what they have been in recent years. It's going to be a close one, but I am going to go with the Bills.
It's going to come down to the running games for both of these teams. For Buffalo, let James Cook cook. Let me repeat that for head coach Sean McDermott of Buffalo. Mm-hmm. Let James Cook. Let him have more carries than your quarterback, okay? I'm going to leave it at that. Isaiah Pacheco, the running back for the Chiefs on the flip side, you saw what he did last week against the Miami Dolphins. He had that touchdown early in the fourth quarter to help put that game away for Kansas City. For Buffalo's defense, how much can you neutralize Travis Kelce? I think that's going to be the key right there. Can you be disciplined and limit the yards after the catch for Travis Kelce? And then on the flip side, for Buffalo's offense, not to turn the ball over. You've been great ever since you kicked out Ken Dorsey, the former OC, and that offense has taken off. So those are going to be the keys for me in this game. The weather's going to be a huge factor along with that crowd. This is the Bills' best and perhaps their last best shot. We don't know what's going to happen next year. We're not going to get that far down the road. But with all the classic moments and finishes that these two teams have had over the last 3 or 4 years, this is the Bills. They better treat it this way. This is their best and perhaps their last best shot to get at this Kansas City Chiefs team. So I'm going with Buffalo here at home, and they are favored by 2.5.
Okay, so it's a pick 'em there. Yeah. So yeah, should be some, all 4 games should be pretty entertaining, overall. So, and probably big ratings too, I'm sure. So, yeah, that's your schedule for this divisional round this weekend. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. Lakeem McGee, Sydney Brown, and our girl KXRB's Christine Manika joining us as usual this time of year. Now, Christine, I want to ask you before we talk about the White Sox. I know Sid wants to talk to you about the potential new stadium in the loop, but I want to ask you about the Bears OC search. I mean, all the names that be thrown around. So, do you have a favorite, or who is your favorite, and why? And if not, who do you think?
I definitely don't want them to get that Kliff guy. Holy cow, we don't want that. Because
Kliff
right
Kingsbury?
after, we don't want Kliff Kingsbury. Right after Arizona gave him the boot, that guy fell off the face of the earth and went straight to Thailand for who knows how long he went to Thailand for. And it's just, I don't know. It's they're going to do the same thing that they always do. They're going to Bears it up. They're going to pick the wrong pick. And we're just going to sit back and watch it all happen and just watch the demise unfold. But that definitely is the one coach I would not want as the OC at the moment. Any other coordinator potential, I'm just going to sit back and watch to see what happens. But definitely Kliff Kingsbury would be at the top of my list, not to put in there.
2 words from Christine: dumpster fire.
I mean, look, with all these head coaches, they should have really, I never want to see anybody lose their job, but they should have really parted their ways with Eberflus. And like I said last week, the Bears have a strong history of retaining coaches with a losing record and getting rid of coaches with a winning record. So we'll see what happens after next season. But yeah, this is going to be interesting.
Oh gosh. It'll be like I said. Well, I'm sure. Like I said, we probably won't be hearing name of. We'll probably hear other names as well. But I just find it weird that, like I said, right before he came on, Christy, it is weird that they're going over there to Los Angeles to talk to him instead of I don't know. Like I said, I might be reading.
It's very weird.
Yeah, I might be reading too much into it, but like I said, I don't know. But well, we'll see.
Maybe he just doesn't want to get used to the Chicago cold yet, in case he doesn't end up here.
That's fair. I can see that too.
Right?
Right. Yeah, that's nicely put there, Christy. So, yeah. So, well, the White Sox, of course, we talked about it earlier. The 78, of course. Perhaps maybe a new stadium be built in the Loop area, right there at Roosevelt Road. What do you think? Do you like the idea? Do you think it's going to happen?
At least they're in the city still, and not talking about going to Nashville, going here, going there. At least it's a location in the city. Is it really the South Side? Is it if it's in the Loop area? I'm not sure, but it's a nice location. It's a good idea to kind of develop that area a little bit more. And if there's room for it, sure. It's in Chicago still. I don't see why not.
And we talked about this earlier, Christine, with the transportation. Now, how many parking lots are you going to build? Because, Sox fans love to tailgate,
Right.
especially in Lot B.
Mhm.
How many parking lots can you build there? If you can build it there, because there's still plenty of land. I think it's slightly lesser than where they are right now at 35th and Shields, next to the Dan Ryan. But we know driving downtown on a normal day, especially during the summer, is a mess anyway. But public transportation-wise, you got the 2 metro train lines, Rock Island and the Union Station line. That's perfect. You'll see the stadium from there. And you got the 3 CTA buses and train lines there. So public transportation-wise, they're set. Number 2, Chicago's not suffering from tourism money. You get that during the spring and summer anyway. But should that stadium be there at that location, you could put a bunch of bars and restaurants there. You can have tourists come in to check out that new stadium, especially at night where the city is beautiful. In my opinion, it's the best beautiful looking city in America, especially at night. You'll have a lot of tourists come in there. Yeah, they can go to Wrigley. Good for them. But the White Sox are in the South Loop. Steer near downtown, you get that downtown money, and you can get them more of them to go over there as well. And don't forget about the hotels as well.
When to your point, Sid, with Wrigleyville, maybe they want to kind of create a White Sox version of Wrigleyville, have the bars and the restaurants all around and walking around and stuff like that. I can totally see that being a possibility. Parking, though, that's a different situation for sure, because I know for Wrigleyville, their parking lots are about a block away from the stadium and Wrigleyville itself. So that's also something to consider. But I think the whole concept and the idea of it, it's actually kind of intriguing to have kind of like not a Wrigleyville, but like a Soxville or like a Soxtown area.
It'll be interesting because I think that whole area, I think, like I said, it is there. I think the city owns it, but the only thing, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see like who's going to have to fit the bill. Will it be the wine stores? Will it be the city? The taxpayers? Will it be kind of like your various contracts? So yeah, that's another thing that's going to be kind of like throw a wrinkle in this.
Also, I want to bring up this question. We need to talk about this at the top, Lakina. Would you want this new potential stadium to have a retractable roof? I say yes, but that's going to cost a whole lot more money. And should it go up, I don't think we're going to have a retractable roof, unfortunately.
It's not Chicago sports if you do like an indoor stadium or a retractable roof. No, I think you keep that part out of it and tough it out.
So you're traditionalist when it comes to that.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Lakina? I mean, I understand that, but like I said, if you want to like host like a Final Four or potentially maybe a national championship game or something like that, or the Big Ten championship, or both football and men's and women's basketball, I think you want to try to have keep that in mind, to have a rooftop, or at least like a retractable roof, or maybe not a dome necessarily like they do in Toronto. Like if they do in Toronto, they have the retractable roof. So I think. Yeah, that's gonna be like the number one question here, because I kind of feel like I understand what you're saying, Christine. You got a lot of traditionalists. They're like, oh no, that's silly. But look, if you want to play those games like in March or April where it's still snowing sometimes and it's cold, I think you may want to have that roof there. That way you don't have to make up any games. But that's just me.
I think that issue was brought up because I know many people think that the Bears and the White Sox could share that facility. I don't see that happening because the Bears had their own issues with this city. But once the Bears, should they get their new stadium in Arlington Heights or wherever, it's going to be built with that roof, because like Lakina said, you want the Final Four to be there. You want the Super Bowl to be there one day. And let's not forget, Lakina, I know you're the queen of college sports on this program. Don't forget the Big Ten championship for college football. You want that thing to get out of Indianapolis, you bring that here to Chicago.
Yes, yep.
You'll make more money here than you do in Indianapolis right now. And that's a fact.
Do. That's a fact. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's why I think that's why they're thinking with all this stuff, and not just the White Sox, but also too the other sport events, like you mentioned. Get out of the Indianapolis area. So I mean, there's a lot to be decided. So we'll see if this comes to fruition. I'm kind of still like a little bit skeptical about it, but we'll see what happens.
All right. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid, Lakina, and Christine hanging out here with you for the next few minutes. We still have a few minutes left, guys. I want to get into this subject. Of course, Jeff Agres, the deputy sports editor at the Chicago Sun-Times, released his list of the top 20 Chicago media personalities the other day. You can check it out via his Twitter account in ChicagoSunTimes.com. We had a chance to check out the list, and many of the people that we had on the show are on that list. Of course, we'll get it out of the way. The number one guy on the list is Pat Hughes. He's the radio voice for the Chicago Cubs Class Act. Of course, he was inducted to the Baseball Hall of Fame last summer, so congratulations to him on that. Number two is Adam Amin. He's the voice for the NFL on Fox. Of course, the TV voice for the Chicago Bulls. And, of course, other names on this list, John Shambi, the TV voice of the Cubs, and the Sunday night radio voice for ESPN Radio for their MLB coverage. Dan Bernstein checks in at number 4. Friend of the show, Layla Rahimi from NBC5 and 670 The Score checks in at number 5. Of course, number 6, Lawrence Holmes. David Kaplan from ESPN Chicago at number 7. Ozzie again, Christine's guy, at number 8. Danny Parkins, who made some questionable comments recently. We'll probably get into that in a second. He checks in at number 9 from 670 The Score. And friend of this show, And number 10, Mark Silverman from ESPN 1000.
Sylvie.
Yeah, Sylvie. Yeah, I would say, and plus, like I said, the Bears, have that. They're the new, ESPN Chicago is now the new home of the Bears. So yeah, I think, of course, his profile, talking about Sylvie's profile, would go rise up a little bit. No, I really can't argue with that list. I mean, like Hughes, like I said, Pat Hughes deserves to be on the top of that list. Adam Amibi is a rising star there. I met him at the old I Am at Chicago at the old State Street campus years ago. Book Shiami, great guy. Dan Bernstein, solid. Leigh Rahimi, Lawrence Holmes. I mean, Kaplan. I mean, some of the things he said, I want to slap him for, but again, not a bad guy. Danny Parker's. I know what you're talking about, Sid. We'll get to that in a second. Of course, our piece, outside the top 10. Of course, you got Deion Miller right there at number 11. Jason
from
Goff
ABC Chicago.
Yeah, ABC Chicago. NBC Sports Chicago's Jason Goff, who we had on the show, terrific. Stacey King, T. Watt, Tom Waddle, Steve Stoney, Darren Hay, Zach Zayman, Jeff Joniak, of course, longtime radio voice for the Bears. Rudy Pulitzky, we'll hope to have her on at some point from NBC Sports Chicago and NBC Chicago. And our buddy Marshall Harris, who he has seen his profile rise up, of course, with Bears appearances on the Score. So, yeah, a pretty good list.
Yeah, we had a small part, not a big part, a small part we do with Marshall Harris. Small. Yeah, we should look every time we let him come on this show, but congratulations to him.
Yeah, right. So, of course, John Scott, of course, who does the studio stuff for the Blackhawks. I've heard him. He is hilarious and just a great storyteller. So, yeah, I can imagine him being on there. What Jeff has is constant noise, his call, right? He does tend to say a lot. That's I'm not nothing against him, but yeah, he does say that a lot. That's kind of one of his little mini ignorance, there. Joe Brand, who, if you guys don't know who he is, he does pre and post for the Blackhawks on WGN. He does a great job there. Of course, he sometimes pitches in for John Whiteman sometimes during the Hawks broadcast. And of course, what he says over is Lance Briggs. I don't know. I hope Jeff hides from Lance. I don't think Lance is gonna be too thrilled with that. Of course, Andy Herron has a great voice. Well, hopefully we'll have him on the show at some point. He does a great job doing both college and pro football. Of course, does stuff on the Score too. So yeah, it's not a bad list, I say.
Yep, Christine.
Oh yeah, that list is great. Lawrence, I've had the privilege of meeting him and hanging out with him a couple of times. Great guy. Tom Waddle, my guy. Sylvie, another one right there. And yeah, just a great list, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you guys check that list out, of course, on Mr. Agris's website, on his Twitter page. If you guys missed the list, so yeah, they have the whole list of it. So yeah, pretty cool. Our buddy Mark Carman isn't very happy that he wasn't on there, but he wasn't very happy of not being on the list. So yeah, relax, Carm. I'm sure you'll get there next year. It's okay. You don't have to. We still love you. It's okay. But of course, CHGO Bears, for those of you who don't know who he is, hopefully we'll have him on the show at some point. Outside of that, but yeah, anything else, guys, before we go to source? Guys, still got a little bit of time left.
Oh yeah, I know we up against a couple minutes left. Of course, last Friday, Chris, I want to get your opinion on this. The Bulls had their Ring of Honor ceremony against the Golden State Warriors at the United Center. A lot of legends were honored, including their whole 95-96 Bulls team that won 72-10. Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Dennis Rodman did not appear at the event, but Jordan and Rodman both did send video messages. And of course, when the late Jerry Krause name came out, who died in 2017, and of course, he was inducted to the Basketball Hall of Fame. He was a general manager for those 6 championships in the 90s. Of course, we all saw what was portrayed of him in the Last Dance documentary, of course, aka the Michael Jordan story. Of course, there was a few fans that booed once his name got called. Christine, I know you saw the reactions. You read a whole lot of people's opinion. What are your thoughts on this?
I think Chicago is way better than that. No matter your opinion of someone, regardless, it happened years ago, and the guy's passed on. You don't do that to his wife. That's just, it's inappropriate. It's not fair, and move on. He brought 6 championships, a whole dynasty, and whatever was portrayed in The Last Dance and whatever story was told, it all happened. You know, they wouldn't put a documentary together like that and have people speak about it if none of it didn't happen. So, regardless of your opinion of who Jerry Krause is or who anybody is, really, be respectful. If you don't like a person, just don't say anything. You could have just stood there and just did a light clap. You didn't have to do all that. So it's a shame what happened, and hopefully that doesn't ruin events like that going forward.
Could have said it better myself, Christy. You say that very eloquently as usual. So yeah, that was just uncalled for, and yeah, I said my piece about it on Monday. So yeah, I don't need to add anything.
Yeah.
Any last words, Christine, before we part for the weekend?
What did Parkins say? You didn't say that.
Oh yeah, Parkins tweeted out. I'll just paraphrasing here, saying that the fans have the right to boo. Booing is part of sports, regarding the Krause situation. Me and Lakina kind of said what we said. Of course, not to rub it in, Christine, but we lived through it, and of course, Jerry Krause was a nice guy away from it all, but he operated in a secretive fashion. But he picked all the players for those championship teams except for Jordan. But still, it doesn't discredit for what he did during that time. But Parkins just said that booing is a part of sports, and whether you agree with it or not, it kind of came out that he was defending those people that were booing. Yes, do those fans have a quote unquote technical right to boo? Yes, but if you really feel that, kind of what we all say, if you really feel that way, don't say anything. That's just my opinion. Do those fans have the right to boo? Yes, but not to defend those people who were booing. But I think they were booing him more than they were booing the widow. If you were booing the widow, you were really out of line, in my opinion.
Well, it's just there is a difference between booing and booing during a sporting event. What was going on there had nothing to do with what the actual game was. That was to honor Bulls legends. You had Bob Love. Oh my God. I had the privilege of meeting Bob Love when I was I was in kindergarten or first grade when he came to our school. I forget the reason why he came to Monte Cristi in North Riverside, and he was just the nicest guy. I remember looking at him going, oh my God, he's so tall. And he looked fantastic. Oh my God. I looked at pictures of him and I'm like, oh my God, you look great. And I'll never forget that. That was probably my first connection to Chicago sports and to the Bulls. That was one of them anyway. And when it comes to, that dynasty, I was at least in diapers during the 95 and 96 one at least. But I know, people in Chicago are very passionate about their sports. But in that moment, put that anger or passion, whatever you have, to the side and pay your respects.
That's fair enough. So that's fair enough. And on that note, you find my Kenny McKee on the Twitter, X, at Kiddos Coming in the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Christine, where can the lovely people follow you on social media?
They could follow me at CManika _KXRB.
And you still have the bird?
Oh, yes, I do.
You lucky son of a gun, Miss Christine.
I'm going to get called one day. I know I am.
All right, yeah. They'll get you. Well, look, they haven't caught you yet, so that's a good thing. And of course, you catch Second City Sports every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports of Chicago. One more time. Catch Second City Sports every Monday and Friday, and from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports of Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels.
Don't forget to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And give War Media a follow at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
And don't forget to catch Sports on Chicago live and on demand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year on Roku TV.
And we will provide you with all the content you want right there at your fingertips, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That's right.
All right. For Christine and Sid, I'm Lakeem with Second Sports on Sports of Chicago. Enjoy all the sports that's going on. And of course, if it's getting a little bit colder and snowy in some parts of the country, be safe out there and just be good to each other. You're listening. This is Second Sports on Sports of Chicago, and we'll see you next week.
Go Bills! Holla!